Fire Letters, thank you so much for performing on Sessions today.
Thank you for inviting us.
First of all, I want to say, really love your music.
Thank you.
Really glad to have you guys on. Now, I just want to ask you both how you got started performing together.
So it was around 6 years ago. We actually started dating around that time, and I already was in several bands. I was playing in the scene in Puerto Rico, and Francis was singing in some gigs, and
very low-key gigs.
Yes.
Like open mics and such, and perhaps like parties, house parties. Sometimes I got a little bit tipsy, so that boosted my confidence, and that was good enough for me to sing. So that's very low-key singing by then.
But then when we went out to dinner, we were talking, and we were just talking about music and all that. We suddenly said, hey, why don't we do something together? We didn't plan on that it was going to be like this, but we just said, okay, let's do it. With no name, no nothing, just let's start making music. So, yeah, 6 years later, we're here.
And I understand you just released a record
Yes.
last year, right?
Yes.
Can you tell me about that?
Yes, so our first album is called Blue Maternal. It came out last November, and we produced the album ourselves. We recorded ourselves, and then a friend of ours mixed it. His name is Carlos Rosa. And then another person did the mastering. It took us about a little bit more than 3 years to work on the songs and other things that happened on the way, because we moved from Puerto Rico over here, and that actually made a significant gap of time that we were not that active, on working on all that stuff. So, but then that actually inspired us to create some songs, and some of them were created in Puerto Rico, and I think a little bit more than half of them were created here in Western Mass after we moved. So, yeah, that pretty much summarized all the feelings that we were going through when we decided to move over here and start a new chapter in our lives.
And inspirationally, where do you find your inspirations for songs, I guess?
So inspirationally, I would say I do write a lot from what I feel. I do connect a lot with my innermost, deepest areas of my soul to sit down and compose. So I do work as a therapist, so I also I think sometimes I channel some of that thing that I work there when I work on music, and I'd say that's pretty much a brief summary.
Okay.
Background music-wise, I don't know, I grew up listening to so much music. Both of our fathers.
Both of us, yeah.
We had a lot of music in our homes, and Santana, Enigma, Delirium, like early 90s kind of techno stuff, electronic.
Very eclectic.
Yeah, but then we also had like salsa, we also had classical music, grunge, metalcore, so a lot of stuff. So I'd say that's like a melting pot of all the influences, I'd say.
And just wondering if you have any shows coming up in Western Mass this spring?
No, not yet.
Not yet? Okay.
Not yet.
We'll keep you posted.
Yes, definitely.
Definitely.
We'll be working something out.
And I know your first album just came out. Are you working on any follow-ups, or?
Well, we are making new music, and we are in the early stages of it. So we have some plans, possibly for this year, early next year, but we haven't sat down and put everything together yet. So, but definitely there'll be something soon. I'd say less than 2 years.
Okay. Well, thanks again, Fire Letters.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Very good.
Hey, thank you.